Welcome back, everybody, to the second episode of The Kin. I'm Connor,
I'm good.
and this week we just wanted to touch on a couple things that we mentioned in last episode, or mentioned in last week's episode. If you haven't listened to it already, go ahead and go give it a listen on Spotify and on YouTube. But we mentioned a couple things on how we stay motivated in the gym, and we just wanted to go more in depth on that.
So last week, Connor mentioned progress photos, which is something I don't do as often as he does, but I'm going to actually start doing because he had a good point of taking them every day instead of just like once a week. So you can actually see like the day-to-day changes. So when you go back and scroll through, you can see what changed over a 2 week period, even if the scale necessarily didn't change.
Yeah, and you can see like the different effects that foods have on your body, and like based on the day, like what pumps you get that day, and like how your body changes based off that, and like what muscle groups you feel like not necessarily you need to work more of, but like sort of need to like give it more attention to.
Yeah, especially with a lot of my clients personally, and I know a lot of people in general, the struggle with the scale, like psychologically, because they'll get on one day they'll be 200 pounds, one day they'll be 198. It messes with their brain. And progress pictures you could do every day instead of weighing yourself every day, so you don't get that psychological like fuck with that a lot of people get.
Yeah, like I myself, I fluctuate like I don't know, probably 4 or 5 pounds depending on the day, and like
Yeah,
that's kind of weird because like I'm right on the borderline of like 200 pounds, so it's like one day I'm like, oh shit, I'm 203. Then next day I'm
yeah,
like, oh, I'm 197. Let's go.
yep.
So
And will it mess with your brain at all? If you back up, like let's say you're like 204 one morning, does
it
it mess
does,
with
it
you?
does. And then I'm like, "Ah, man, I got to do more cardio. And then I'm like, oh, no, I don't need to do more cardio. It's that I ate a steak last night.
Yeah, you just got that bloating
Hmm.
with holding more water.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing I do to stay motivated is like it sounds cliche because everyone says it. Like remember your why, but it's true because there's a reason you start going to the gym. No one just starts going to the gym just randomly unless you were an athlete. But that's still a reason too, is you want to get better at your sport. So with that said, my reason was I didn't want to be skinny anymore. And I'm still skinny now, like I'm thinner now, but I just want to keep getting bigger. And the only way to do that is go to the gym unless I want to get fat. So that's my why is I just want to keep adding muscle till I reach my goal of 265 pounds,
Yeah. And
which I'm far
that's the
away
best
from.
thing to do. It's like, you know, I played college baseball and then I went from working out every day to not doing anything for almost a year and a half. It's like, and when that happens, and a lot of people are like that, a lot of people haven't worked out yet or like have minimal like experience. It's like when you take that much time off, it's hard to find that motivation to actually just go and pick up a weight or get on the treadmill. It's just it's a struggle, and once you find that reason, then it's just like, oh, let's go. Like I'm ready to get after it. Like you're waking up at 6 a.m. to go lift before you go to work, and it's like, man, I finally have this drive and passion that I haven't felt before, or like if you have because you have played sports or something similar, it's like, oh shit, I haven't felt like this in a long time.
And there's something I always wanted to ask you is a lot of my friends who went on to play like serious like semi-professional or like collegiate sports is a lot of them when they're done playing sports, they have a negative connotation with working out because it was just engraved like they were forced to do it so much. That did that ever affect you? Like, did you ever have that ill will towards
That's sort of like
lifting?
something I wanted to cover once we get more into like the podcast and like I start covering like athletics, because that's sort of like on the mental health side. It's like, did you feel whether or not like working out and going to practice was a chore, or was it you're bettering yourself so you and the team can do well? And
Mhm.
that's something a lot of athletes struggle with, and I myself struggled with that towards the end of my career. And it's hard like when you start not like you don't have that drive anymore to have to go, do 10 sprints, or like, go do a whole body workout after a day on the field or something like that. It's hard, and that's why the negative connotation gets built up, because it becomes a chore, and it becomes just like this feeling of like it's a drag, like you don't want to go do it. And I feel like that's how a lot of people are, but if you truly love playing the game itself, then nothing will be a chore.
So you said that it did start to become that way for you.
Yeah, and that was just because of outside factors and everything like that. But it's
How did you get back into the gym?
um
What led you to overcome that negative connotation?
so after like the year and a half that I took off, it was like I looked my or I went on a vacation and I hadn't been to the beach in almost 2 years. So when we went, we had pictures taken and everything, and like looking at your mind doesn't display how bad you look when you look at yourself in a mirror.
Mhm.
So when that picture got taken of me and like I looked at it, I was like, holy shit, I didn't recognize myself. And that was one of the hardest things. It was like I sat like for a week thinking, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get back to where I was me? And I feel like a lot of people, that's why a lot of people work out, because it becomes part of them. But getting to where they become themselves is the hardest part. But it's for me anyways. Once I started getting back into it and I started like, it's that, oh, it's 1.5 pounds down, 5 pounds, 10 pounds. It's like, this feels good. And then you just keep going and it becomes repetitive. And that's what sparks it to myself, Garrett, anybody that's at the gym. Like you go and you like see those little small goals that you've hit, and it's just like, wow, I'm actually like accomplishing something. You get that feeling of accomplishment, and it's the greatest feeling in the world.
So what would you say your why is now? Because obviously in the past it was for baseball. So what is it now? Just to not look that way again, or
It's partially, yeah, but now it's I want to have a better health and a longer life so that when I have my own family, I can not be out of shape and I can go do things with them, go on hikes and like not be winded, like that sort of thing. And obviously the aesthetics come hand in hand
yeah?
with it, but
Because I feel like my why isn't as like talked about as much. Well, obviously there's the one I've already mentioned is I just want to be bigger. I don't want to be skinny anymore. And then second and thirdly is the second one is I work out for mindset because if I make working out,
yeah.
typically lifting weights, if I make it the hardest thing I do that day, then everything else will be easier because I knocked out that hardest thing I had to do already.
Hmm.
Like nothing is worse than a set of like walking lunges with a barbell on your back. Like that's the worst pain
Yeah.
you can go through.
And it's just like you said, it's a mindset and you can view it as you're bettering yourself, or you can view that workout as you had a bad fucking day at work. You want to go blow off some steam and do some squats, do some bench press, like view it as that rather than like I said with the whole sports and like or you mentioned like they viewed it as like a bad connotation like towards working out. It's like don't it's not a chore then. Then it's like, oh, I'm like stress relief. It's
Yeah.
helping my mindset and like I can it
Give
gives you a
it
different it gives you a different perspective.
And then my third reason, which I've Joe Rogan said this, and it was made me come to realization that other people feel this way. So I'm just gonna reiterate it here: is that like it's very sadistic, but I never want to be physically incapable of protecting the people I love if I'm ever put in that situation. So a lot of times when there's like a hard workout and like I want to quit, I'll like theorize on like and visualize if that situation was to occur, like how bad you just have to push through it. It's kind of messed up, but it's one thing that like has helped me through workouts is I never want to be in that place of feeling vulnerable or not strong enough.
Yeah,
So
that mental repetition sort of thing where it's like,
yeah,
yeah, that was a big thing in sports too, like just putting yourselves in like high stress situations where it's like, for me it'd be like bases loaded, 2 outs, bottom of the ninth type shit, like
mm-hmm.
scoring or winning runs on third, like you gotta strike this guy out. Like that's the sort of thing that I would put myself into and like imagine the pitches that I would throw. And like in the gym, it's like, oh, say you have a goal from 3 months from now, you want to lose this like X amount of weight, and then visualize yourself 3 months from now and how you would feel and what you would look like. And then when you go to that gym that day, do or like put that visualization to the test and like start working yourself harder.
That's a good point you made there. Is like 3 months from now is all humans do better with a deadline. That stress just makes them perform better. And one thing I realized with clients is my clients that get the best results have a date that like they either have to be shirtless or have to look a certain way. And that embarrassment, negative fears are always stronger than positive motivations to make you actually do something. So that like fear or embarrassment factor of either taking your shirt off, looking good in a dress for like a wedding or a beach party will make you work harder than like just I want to feel good. So if you give yourself that date, just like when you have an assignment in school, it'll push you to your best ability to actually flourish and become the person you want to become.
Hmm. And then like, to go along with that, like visualizing yourself, but then like pick out like a body physique maybe that like you want to look like, and then work towards it. Like that's like the small little goals, like we mentioned. Like don't set like 5 big goals. Set like 3 little ones at like 2 weeks, another three at like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Like that way, when you're going and you're constantly hitting the gym 5, 6 days a week, you don't get tired of it because you're not seeing the results or whatever it might be. You're just going to look at that checklist and you're like, oh shit, bang, 3 goals checked off. 2 weeks from now, I'm going to knock these out. And then I'm moving on to the bigger one.
Yeah. And those goals can literally be as simple as I want to hit the gym 3 times this week if you're starting out. Or if you're a little more advanced, you just be like add 5 pounds to your bench press in the next month. Add a pound even if you're super advanced.
Mm-hmm.
You just make it little micro goals that like give you something to work for, like Morty said.
Yeah, like one of the classes that I took in college, it's like we had to make up a workout program for a 75-year-old man that wanted to complete a marathon.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I was like, okay. Like, first of all, it's a 75-year-old man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's some that probably are in great shape, but a full marathon, I doubt it.
Yeah.
But I was just like, and it's like he had like hardly any workout experience, and it's just like, I'm like, okay, but here we go. And I was like, start him off like, you know, let's start him out with maybe 3/4 of a mile, like a mile walking one day, and then
Yeah.
just start testing them from there. Like in 2 weeks, let's make it a mile and a quarter or a mile and a half, and like try and increase the speed so the time decreases, and then like start, the little ladder steps up to where he wanted to be.
Yeah, just little milestones till you reach the ultimate end goal.
Yep.
So our second thing we got asked was strategies to cut back on eating out. To me personally, I do have a bad habit of eating out. I luckily have the privilege enough to not really store body fat. I stay lean year round naturally, so I can get away with it. It's not, don't be like me, don't do that. But I've been trying to cut back since I'm in my own place now. I have bills to pay. My strategies on cutting back is never be hungry enough, never be away from your food so that you would have the impulse to go out and buy food out. So if you always have a meal packed, or if you are always just prepared, or always satiated when you are leaving the house for a long period of time, it'll cut those impulses to go buy the food. So just always have food near you, good food.
And that's why meal prepping is so important, because one, you get more food, and it's
Yeah.
healthier. Two,
Cheaper.
it's cheaper. And that's a big thing. Like, oh, what is it? It's like 97% of people like get takeout on Fridays and Saturday nights. And it's just like,
Yeah.
damn.
Hey, good for the businesses.
Yeah, and that racks up. Like, think about that. Say it's like you and like your girlfriend or like your boyfriend, and it's just, that's an automatic $45 every like 4 times a month. Think about
Yeah.
that. That's $160. 3 months from now, you can take a vacation.
Yeah, and that's on top of getting groceries, because usually people will buy groceries and then still go out.
Yeah.
Like I know I've done that. You literally get a full house of groceries. Hey, let me get food on the way home. I'm like,
Yeah, like the dieting thing. It's like, I don't know. Hold on, I gotta refresh what the question was. Yes, cutting back on eating out. It's like,
it's the biggest hurdle
Wait,
because
when
their
you
food
get,
tastes better.
yeah, their food tastes better. Ours is bland as shit because we're trying not to add calories to it. But it's like, you do it because you have those goals set, and when you do that, you're cheating yourself. It's like I preach all the time. when I was at college and I would go work out at Anytime Fitness, it there is a McDonald's right across the street from it.
They always do that.
And every damn day, I would watch people go in there and work out for an hour and a half, whether it be an hour and a half straight on the treadmill or just lifting weights, whatever it might be. I would watch them walk out of there, get in their car, drive across the street to the McDonald's, and I don't know if they got a cheeseburger or what, but it's just like, it's McDonald's, man. Come on. Like,
Yeah.
that to me, it's like you're cheating yourself in the goals that you had in your mind when you came in here. But, that could be like a reward to them to help themselves like keep going, I guess. But
Yeah. But at least they're making that first step of being in the gym, and then they can just grow from there. It's like if you try to do everything at once, you're typically gonna fall short. That's why, like, even if it is just start in the gym, don't change your diet at all. Just start in the gym. You might make progress, or you could do the reverse, control your diet, and then add the gym later. Whatever just works best for you and would lead you to be seeing the most results.
baby steps.
Yep.
And that's like going back to the whole goal thing. Like it's all part of the process, and it's all part of making yourself a better person, building your mindset up, and just having a healthy life. Like we can't preach it enough that please don't go get McDonald's after you work out.
But maybe adding a cheat meal a week to start just keeps you motivated. It gives you something to look forward to. So if you want to add that McDonald's in on a Friday,
Yeah, like I did that when I first started.
here.
Yeah, like I was probably 250, 260 when I first started working out after I quit baseball. Like I was getting big, and I was loving my pizza. So, Saturday or Sunday, me and my mom, we'd go get pizza or we'd order it out, and then yeah, but that was my cheat meal, and that's how I would eat it, and then I'd feel like shit afterwards. And
Physically or psychologically, or
both.
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 Yeah.
And it's just like I eat this, it makes me feel like shit. I know it's like pushing me back and keeping me from my goals. So like why am I doing it? And I eventually just like it took me probably 3-4 months, but I cut it out completely finally. And that's what it takes. You just have to it's consistency. Consistency is the key. And that's like fortune cookie wisdom, but it's true. And it's proven to be true for how many years now?
Yeah. What allowed you to cut it out? Like, what were the steps? I know you probably didn't plan it. Like, this is what I'm gonna do to stop eating food out, stop eating the pizza. But it was like, in hindsight, what actually allowed you to do that?
Just like so I wasn't progressing as fast as like I knew I could.
Mhm.
And I made a TikTok on this. It's like, well, why am I doing it if it's gonna be easy? I'm like,
Yeah.
and that's the mentality you have to get into. You have to get into a mentality where you're like, I'm gonna be a bad motherfucker, and I'm gonna push myself to my limits instead of going through the motions and making it easier on yourself. Because then it's consistency. I can't knock you on that, but it's that push like constantly pushing yourself. That's gonna make your goals even higher than they were before. So you're demanding more of yourself, and that's building up whatever you were working towards.
Yeah. So dieting on a budget. Do you have a budget for your diet?
Hell no.
'Cause-
Well, right now I kind of do, but like it's nothing major. It's not like some of these ones where you see on YouTube. It's like, oh,
You
like
got $100.
yeah, you got $100 for a week. Like, nah, like you can do that. Like you can make really good gains on that. Like, oh, let's do like chicken for my lunch 5 days a week, and then for dinner I'm gonna do like ground turkey, and then alternate it between days and do like ground turkey one day, like ground beef the next. Like do that sort of thing, and just that's easy meal prep, and it's really cheap, and just the 5-pound bags of rice that you find at Sam's Club. Get
Yeah.
those, and then some veggies. Like you can make it out under $100 and have plenty of food.
I
But
actually do have a budget for my diet, and my calories are relatively high. So I have all my meals planned out. I eat the same thing every day. I know a lot of people can't do that. Just mentally, they just need variety.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough where I can eat the same thing 7 days a week. So like for my budget for food is around like 200 to 250 every 2 weeks. So I go the day I get paid is when I do my grocery shopping, and then I plan it out
Well,
for that
you're
2 weeks.
close to the $100.
Yeah, like 250 is not bad. But I do Friday, Saturday, and Sunday I do have a $30 limit for like food out. But usually it's like I love poke, so I usually get poke all 3 days, just because it's like somewhat healthy still, like the raw salmon,
Yeah.
and then it still fits like my macros. So I typically eat. I have a smoothie for breakfast, so it's like egg whites, 8 ounces egg whites, 8 ounces almond milk, spinach, half cup granola, and 1 scoop protein powder. And then second meal and fourth meal are exactly the same. It's a cup and a half of white rice with 7 ounces of turkey. So that's meal 2 and 4. My third meal is a lot different. It's usually my pre-workout. So it's usually 2 cups of instant oatmeal and a rice cake with peanut butter and a protein bar. And then meal 5 is ground beef and pasta. And then meal 6 is a protein shake before bed with some
Six.
cracked pepper. Yeah, 6.
Jesus Christ.
It's a lot of food. It's a full-time job just eating
Oh yeah. It's like
and prepping it.
you're lucky. You're getting to eat like what? How many calories did you
It's
say? Like 3,500?
3,500 to 4K.
Yeah,
It's in like that ballpark. Leg days, I eat a little bit more just
dude.
because I
I'm
burn more
sitting
energy.
like at 2,000 right now a day. I'm trying to cut.
Naturally, if I just ate like to my like fullness, I'd probably eat around 2,600 calories. Like I don't have a very big appetite. Like finishing those meals is work. Like each meal takes me around like 20 to 40 minutes just to finish because I just
And you're
don't like
sweating by
eating.
the end of it.
Yeah, I just don't. I'm not a big eater.
And for those of you out there that might not know what he's talking about when he mentioned macros, so those are your total fats, your total carbohydrates, and your proteins. And you want to measure those out. So what is it? Like it's considered it's like 0.85 grams to or 0.85 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight.
1.5. Bodybuilders will say to go way more, but it's all dependent on your goals.
But and then I forget the percentages past that, like what the fats should be. I didn't miss anything when I said was mentioning those,
No.
right? Okay.
It all just really depends on how you like your height, your weight, and just your activity level. So those are the three main factors. You can literally type into Google macro calculator, enter all the information, and give you a ballpark. One thing with the calculators though is that, like I said, it is a ballpark estimate. So like for me, it says I think it's like 3,200 or something. I lose weight at that, so that's obviously not my maintenance calories, but that's like according to my statistics, that's what it would be. So you just gotta go off their calculator and then eat that for like 2, 3 weeks. And if you're losing weight, that means that's slightly lower than your maintenance. You're in a deficit. If you're gaining weight, it means you're in a surplus, so it's slightly higher than your maintenance.
Mhm.
So with that said, just play around with it until you find where you're either maintaining your weight or losing your weight or gaining weight, dependent on your goals.
And, having fun with it's kind of awesome too, because then you can like, if you're under, it's like, oh, sweet, I can go get ice cream this week. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So what's your take on fad diets, Morty? Like, what's your take on veganism?
vegan, and you had to ask me that because I love meat, but um,
Most of us are vegan. Obviously, I just went over my diet. I'm not.
yeah, uh, there's a lot of people that are vegan, and it, I have nothing
Sister's
against.
vegan.
Yeah, I have obviously nothing against it. I like turkey, I like all that stuff, but vegan diets, they're good if you want to cut like weight in a short amount of period, just because you're not going to be eating meat. And the problem with that is like you're going to have to start taking a lot of vitamins because you lack a lot of nutrients when you go on the vegan diet.
Especially with veganism is their lack of protein intake. Yes, you can get it with combining the rice with the lentils, and you will give yourself a complete protein. But the quantity of food you actually have to eat to make up for what like 4 ounces of steak or 7 ounces of steak would be is very large for most people that they're not really going to reach those requirements because that's a lot of food.
Mm.
So that's my biggest problem with veganism is just the lack of B vitamins and just how hard it is to truly get a well-versed diet on the vegan diet. But if you're doing it for like ethical reasons, I respect you for that because Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like
edible.
there's some people that like actually do have allergic reactions to meat, and like it causes them to break out or something like that, and
Hmm.
that's why they are vegan. And there's some people that do it by choice, obviously, and it's like uh,
Yeah.
it's you know just strictly because of the nutrition facts. I would I would definitely like test it and try it. Like I feel like it would be interesting and fun to do it. Do what?
I wouldn't.
I mean just to like try it a couple
Yeah.
weeks, it wouldn't be bad. But like long term, like there's people that have been vegan for like
Yeah.
4 or 5 years. Like I take
And you can do it right. Like it is a diet you could do for the rest of your life. It's just the amount of work it takes to do correctly is more than most people are willing to. And another thing with the veganism is for women, a lot of women, I forget the percentage, but a lot of women are anemic, which is that's iron deficiency. And the majority of the population gets their iron from red meat.
I can look it
So if
up real
you're
quick.
a woman who is vegan that cuts out meat, it's very hard if you're not supplementing your iron to not be anemic. So that's just another thing to consider while Morty looks up the rate of iron deficiencies.
It's twice as prevalent in females as it is in males.
Yeah, and that's mainly because of their period that when they bleed, they lose a lot of iron. So that's just another thing to consider if you ever contemplate actually going vegan. And then on the flip note, the second diet we're going to cover is carnivore, which I still don't agree with, but
Strictly
I don't agree
carnivore
with
or like mixing
strict carnivore. You're
strictly
only
carnivore.
eating red meat, eggs, all that stuff. I don't agree with diets as a whole, this will go into later, that eliminate food groups. I don't think it's sustainable and I don't think it's adequate for health because a well-versed diet is ultimately the best choice. I know with carnivore that people that have autoimmune diseases have seen wonders because they cut out all the processed food. Um, so that is something to take into consideration. But if you're doing it for that reason, I'd recommend that it's under a certain time constraint with overview of your doctor. So like if you want to go 4 weeks to 6 weeks carnivore to get rid of like your eczema, then that might work. But that also doesn't even work for everybody. So I'd see your doctor about that.
Yeah,
But I just
if you
don't agree
guys
with
can't tell, Garrett's a dietitian here.
I'm not. But I do have a nutrition certification, but I'm not a dietitian, a registered one.
But uh little thing like going back to the vegan thing just on based on nutrition, I don't mean to like I'm segueing here, but like
Okay.
right now I take 3 multivitamins a day just to get at what I'm lacking, and I just have like a multitude of
Did you get your
food
blood work
groups.
done?
Like do up.
Did you get your blood work done?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's what it is based off that. So I'm taking 3 of those, and it's with iron, just so I can make it what I'm lacking in my food. And it's not that my diet's bad; it's definitely not bad. I mean, eh, I j- I count my macros and everything like that, and I do what works best for me. And I've experimented with it just so I can have that. But the 3 multivitamins a day is what I'm lacking, and that's with meats in my diet.
Yeah. And
So
that's someone who's in the fitness industry that actually cares about their diet and they're still deficient in things. So you can imagine what someone who doesn't really track their food is just eating whatever they crave and what they're deficient in if someone who cares about their diet is still deficient.
mhm.
Because I'm deficient. I'm deficient in vitamin D and I live in Arizona. Like,
Yeah, well, you also don't want to go out in the burning ass hot
yeah,
sun.
it's 107 right now and it's 8 p.m. at night.
Yeah, I know you
So
Snapchatted me the other day and it was 125. I couldn't believe it.
yeah, it's not fun.
But back to the carnivore diet, it's like obviously I don't have as much background knowledge as Garrett does, but when it comes to working out, that diet would probably I wouldn't say it would help you a lot, but like you would kind of feel better when you're working out, definitely. And that's because of
Mhm.
what do up.
To a degree, because carbohydrates is your body's main source of energy.
Yeah.
So eliminating that, which the carnivore does almost entirely, is your workouts could feel, depending on your type of workouts, like if it's endurance based, they're probably fast just because your body's not going to have any glycogen to get into. And the protein consumption is too high for you to actually be in ketosis, which is what keto does, is put you in ketosis. So it switches your body from using carbohydrates as its main energy source to fat. And if your protein intake's too high, it knocks you out of ketosis. So that's a bad thing that happens with the carnivore diet. That like you will shed fat though, just because it's hard to eat 2,000 calories of just steak. Like you got to be one hungry person.
Explain the ketosis thing again.
So ketosis, most humans, I'd say probably 90% of the population or so, uses glycogen as their source of fuel. So that's the carbohydrates that fuel your muscle. Um, that's why people recommend that you have carbs before you work out, like around 30, 45 minutes before, because that'll fuel your workout. Or like if you ever heard, it's an old like track myth that's actually true, is like carb loading the day
Yeah, I was
before.
getting ready to say swimmers and runners do that a lot.
They eat like a shit ton of pasta before the day before, so they're all fueled up. But what keto does, which we'll talk about later, is it puts your body into ketosis, which switches your body's main energy source from using glycogen to ketones. So with that said, is it basically uses that fat store you have that like everyone has, even if you're lean, you still have fat, as the energy source. So why people lose so much weight on keto is because their body is actually eating itself for that energy.
And would you say that like keto is definitely not a diet to work out on,
I want to say
or is that
definitely.
or is that kind of like a miss sort of thing? That's what I've heard from a lot of people is that like keto is really bad for people that like are trying to build up muscle.
Oh, if you're trying to build muscle, absolutely, because your body, there's glycogen in your muscle. So if you're on keto and trying to, let's just say you're a bodybuilder that wants to go keto, you're probably not going to reach your goals just because one, your muscles are constantly going to be flat, so you're never going to have that full feeling or look, even if you're a bodybuilder. Um, in your workouts, you just won't have enough energy and resources. It's like trying to build an oil mine without any oil.
And that's after you take the 500 milligrams of caffeine to the dome.
Yeah. So. So we already kind of covered keto. I personally like I said earlier, I don't recommend any elimination diet. I think it's a quick fix that won't, in the long term, for most people, won't allow you to reach your goals. For most people, what they need to do is find a well-balanced diet that they enjoy eating that will allow them to flourish as an individual to be able to reach their goals and still enjoy life. Because that's ultimately what it matters is if you're not enjoying your life or your food, you're not going to adhere to it.
Mm.
So if any three of the diets we mentioned you enjoy eating, eat them. But it's all about what you enjoy that will get your results as well and keep you healthy.
Yeah. And then the next one we were going to talk about is like paleo, which is sort of like the carnivore diet, but you get to have the nuts, the grains, and everything like that, and in between. And I
No grains, technically.
well, you get to have the
No
nuts,
refined grains. Yeah, yeah.
uh, but it's I had personal experience with paleo because when I was in high school, I hit a huge growth spurt between sophomore and junior year.
You hit a growth spurt?
Dude, you're 6'7", like come on. But between sophomore and junior year, what was I? I was 5'6", and I shot up to 6 foot within
Okay,
three
that is a
with,
growth
with
spurt.
within a 3 month time period. So I grew 6 inches within 3 months, and I was
Did
skinny
your
as
body
all. Do up?
did your body hurt? Because
Yes.
I'm tall, but I never had a growth spurt like that. I was like an inch every year for like my whole life.
Basketball season then was terrible because my knees hurt like hell.
Yeah.
But what helped me a lot was I started coming to a place where it's called Strength School and it's in Indiana, but it's the guy there recommended that I try paleo, and that's because I would be able to put on mass while building my muscle back up. With as much cardio and with as much weight training I was doing at the time, I wasn't getting enough calories or enough proteins in me to like be able to maintain after I hit that 6 inch growth spurt because I was eating what I was eating when I was like 5'6", and obviously my maintenance calories went up, and I was 6 foot like 145, 150, and I don't know if I've seen anybody like that, but that's damn skinny. And I did that. I did paleo just so I could build my muscle mass, and I felt energized. I was sleeping like 5, 6 hours, and it felt like I was sleeping 10. Like I felt great on it. But that's because my body had lacked so many nutrients for a while after I hit that growth spurt. And then all the working out I did, my body was like, oh, this is awesome. Like I was eating steak, I was getting chicken finally. And yeah, it definitely helped me out a lot because I went from, like I said, the 145 to 150. And then by the end of my junior year, I was 180. So it definitely helped me out a lot.
Why don't you go paleo now?
Because I'm cutting.
That's fair. All right, so the next one, Morty actually does this. He does if it fits your macros. So the abbreviation for that is IIFYM. I typically don't do this because I actually don't track my macros. I just have my meals planned out to reach my goals, and then that's what my macros are.
So what he means by that is like, you can eat anything and everything as long as it fits in within your macro limit. And by that, I need to take in within at least 200 grams of protein a day. And then, what am I eating right now? Like, I take like 300 carbs. And then I try to get like 80, 90-ish fat for the day since I am cutting. Like I try to keep that really low. And obviously that's going to do a lot of things to my body, but that's what I'm doing right now. And if it fits in with that, I'll eat it. So like usually I'll have like, bowl of oatmeal in the morning. I'll sprinkle a little bit of protein powder in there. And then for lunch, I'll have like 7 ounces of chicken with salad. And then dinner's like sort of the same, but it's like rice, a vegetable, and then like a ground beef or something like that, just so I can get a little bit of fat in there.
Yeah. So it's a well-balanced diet. I hate the protes. I know people love them, like the protein powder and the oatmeal. I might be cooking them wrong, but I have like PTSD when it comes to protes.
Was that?
I just can never get the taste right, and it's always like clunky or chalky, and it's just I can't get it.
See, I figured out the key to that. Are you doing like plain oatmeal or are you doing like the instant packs?
Instant packs.
Oh, which like the plain ones?
No. Like usually I alternate, but it's usually apple cinnamon.
Get the cinnamon brown sugar.
Okay.
Get the cinnamon brown sugar because that's what I do. I either do it plain or I do the cinnamon brown sugar. And
plain oatmeal?
Yeah. And then I'll sprinkle cinnamon on it if I do the plain. And then I'll mix in like I have chocolate protein powder, so it makes it pretty good.
I do peanut butter in my oatmeal a lot. On my like leg days specifically, if I have oatmeal that day, I just add like 2 heaping scoops of peanut butter, and then I'd rather just drink a protein shake and eat my oatmeal than combine them. But I know people love combining them. It's just not my cup of tea.
That reminds me of something that I wanted to bring up, but go ahead.
No, you're good. What's up?
Meal replacement shakes. What are your thoughts on those?
So I think they're fine, but in my peak bulk, I lived at home at the time. I had my mom buy me meal replacement shakes that were like 400 or 500 calories. I would eat my meal, and then I would drink one after each meal. Because I always wanted to put on size. I never really got fat because I'm lucky enough. But
so you're smacking like 1,800 calories in one meal.
Yeah. Because that's one thing I also did for all the skinny guys out there is I think it was Alan Thrall. He's a YouTuber from Untamed Strength, so shout out to him. But that's what he taught me to do if you don't have a big appetite. It's like eat your meal, get full, and then you will drink a protein shake or have a glass of milk because it will physically just help to expand your stomach so you can train your body just like it's a muscle to be able to eat more. It's like progressive overload like you would do for your bench or squat, but for your stomach.
Yeah.
So that's actually what I did, and it worked. I still don't have that big of an appetite, but I could still eat way more than I could 4 or 5 years ago.
Are you a big fan of like doing like the the actual ones that rather not the ones that like come in like prepackaged like the meal replacement shakes like you mentioned, but like the ones where it's like you build it yourself, where it's like the protein powder, then you add
the
like
mass gainers?
Yeah, like not mass gainers, but like you add spinach and like you put the fruits and stuff in it, and then that's what. Yeah.
That's basically just like a big smoothie.
Yeah. Like that's what I'm a big fan of, and it's like I was watching Bradley Martin's YouTube video a couple weeks ago, and it's like he put like spinach, blueberries, raspberries. What else he put in it? Peanut butter, cocoa powder, his protein powder, and I think he'd mix it with almond milk. But he blended it up, and I was like, wow, that looks really appeasing.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it for fat loss if you have a big appetite, just because you want to eat as much calories as possible, so you're as full as possible.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to put on size, absolutely. There's some pro bodybuilders who blend 4 out of their 6 meals. I think is weird, like blending chicken and rice with liquid and drinking it. I think it's very bizarre. But if you don't have an appetite, I mean, it gets the job done.
It's making me gag.
I wouldn't recommend that. I know Hunter Labrada does that, where he blends his chicken and rice because he hates chicken and rice. But
Don't drink raw eggs like they do in Rocky, please.
unless it's pasteurized egg whites, because I drink those every day.
Yeah.
But
It's not like, well, eventually the raw eggs won't hurt you, but it's the chance until you get there that will make you sick.
yeah, I'm lucky enough is my mom and I always grew up eating cookie dough. Like we never bought like the safe cookie dough. My mom always just bought cookie dough, and I've been eating it my whole life, and I've never got salmonella. So
Bro, we would just buy it, like, you're talking about the ones where it's the little plastic tube.
no, like the actual like the ones that are like pre-cut that you just like put in the oven.
I
That's what we
would
would
buy
eat.
the ones like, you know, this what sausage comes in, like the
Yeah.
little that we would buy those and we would eat those raw. Those
Yeah.
those hit. Those are awesome.
But like raw cookie dough is better than actual cookies. 100%.
Why is that?
I just think they taste better. It was just like
Strictly, I thought there was like some like low key nutrition fact in there that I was missing.
No, I just like the taste. Like cookie dough is my favorite thing. Like if I'm having a cheat meal, like cookie dough's involved somehow.
Yeah. What's your
But,
favorite cookie?
Chocolate chip.
Your
My
basic.
favorite cookie of all time is I had it in Germany. So okay, you're gonna say it's a sugar cookie. It's not a sugar cookie.
Is it like
Chocolate
this,
chip cookies without the chocolate chips is the best cookie on the planet.
like a ginger snap?
Nope. Like the same dough a chocolate chip cookie is. You just don't add chocolate chips. Best cookie on the planet.
I feel like I've had those before. What?
Yeah, but like it's a sugar cookie, no, because it's different.
What is?
I don't know how it's different, but
What's
I don't know the name.
what's that brand where they make it's like comes in the little white pouches and they make like the wafers? What is that brand? I feel like I've had those through that before.
I don't know. Wafers are kind of fire though. I haven't had those in a minute.
Vanilla wafers, banana pudding.
Yeah. Those you just put in your mouth and let them like dissolve. You don't actually chew them.
Yeah. But are you looking it up? Trying to find it.
Yeah. Yeah, I am.
It's like Pepperidge Farm. That's it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, those cookies that come in the little white bags. I feel like I've had it before just through those because they make anything and everything.
Yes.
I usually get like the little vanilla wafers with the chocolate in the middle of them. Those are fire.
I've actually never had those. I'll have to get them next time I go to the grocery store.
Yeah. Go ahead and get them and rub 'em in my face.
I got you.
Can't eat them, so yeah, have your fun. But
Oh, it should look fire.
But yeah, it's just to sum up everything that really we've talked about this far. It's like, you know, staying motivated, the fad diets, and what's good and what's not. You know, don't go eat McDonald's after you go work out, and yeah, the meal replacement shakes. Do them if you want to try and put on size, but if you're cutting and trying to lose fat, definitely not the best idea. But yeah, as far as like, I kind of want to go back and focus on the motivation stuff for a couple minutes. It's like,
That's what I was about to. My biggest thing is like, you have to find the thing, whatever it is. Like for me, and then I believe for Morty, it's lifting weights. You might not like that, which is fine. Like there's runners, swimmers. Like just find, even dance. Like just find whatever tailors to you that you can adhere to that'll make you healthier.
yeah, like, and that's why they have men's league and like basketball.
Yeah.
They have softball, but like
I'm
they have
actually
men's.
looking at 'em.
They have like men's league baseball, volleyball even. It's like, go do that. That's good cardio. Like, that's a good
Yeah.
workout.
It doesn't even feel like you're working out because you're entertained, you're having fun.
Hmm. And there's some people that are like that. Like, I don't know if you guys are like me, but like, I'm a little bit ADHD and I can't fucking count my reps. I just go till I can't.
I This funny you mentioned rec leagues is the gym I work at has a half court in our gym, a half court basketball hoop. And as a trainer, you have a lot of breaks. Like I'll train people for like 4 hours straight. I'll have like an hour and a half off. It's just how like people's schedules work. I'll literally just go hoop. I'll come back to my next client and dripping, and they're like, "What did you do?" I was like, "I just hooped for an hour and a half." It's because I don't actually do cardio. That's my form of cardio is just
Yeah.
hooping.
And when I first started working out, I was doing that. Like, there was a basketball court right down the street from my house where I used to live, and I'd go work out hour and a half, and then I'd go shoot baskets for 25, 30 minutes. You
Yeah.
know, I'd be sweating more from that than I would my workout.
Yeah, and you probably burn more calories because there was a study I did in school. It was the enjoyment factor of cardiovascular training, and they found that people's heart rates got to a higher degree. So like let's say I'm 20 years old. My max heart rate on paper is 200 pounds. So you just subtract 220 minus your age. That's what it is, estimated. Everyone's a little bit different based off your previous history. But they found that people would get closer to their max heart rate when they were playing a sport they enjoyed. Because one, they're working out automatically elevates your heart rate, but the excitement factor edged your heart rate up a little bit more because you're actually enjoying it. You were excited to play, which kept your heart rate elevated for longer and had a higher peak. So they found that people that actually playing sports they enjoy burn more calories in that same time period as people who just did 30 minutes of cardio over 30 minutes of a basketball
Yeah,
game.
because that activates the adrenaline.
Yeah, which I always thought was really cool, especially if you're a competitive person, you probably burn even more calories because you're like, I can't lose to this kid.
What is it in the brain? It's dopamine, right? That activates the
Dopamine's
adrenaline.
happiness chemical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, that's just a good way to, because like my dad, he hates working out because he ran so much and he ran as a kid. And then he also ran in the military a shit ton. So like he hates working out. So one thing I'm trying to get him to do this summer is just play me in basketball because I know his ego. He's not going to want to lose to his son because he was really good at basketball. So if I just challenge him, he's going to play me, and that'll get him to be more active. So you just got to find what like motivates him, or
Yeah.
not him, whoever you are trying to motivate, or even if it's yourself.
Yeah, and like there's different ways to gear cardio, and like me myself, like for example, like I hate running. Absolutely cannot stand it. I would rather shoot myself in the foot. But what I found that I like doing is, I'll do it for like 5 rounds. I won't time myself obviously because I'm still kind of out of shape, but I'll do 5 rounds. I'll start off with 10 burr beats, and then I'll throw like 3 plates on a sled, and then I'll start pushing the sled, 20, 15, 20 yards, and I'll do it down and back, and I'll rest like 20 seconds, and then I'll do it again. And
Okay, I'm gonna go finish.
no, I was done.
Okay, I was gonna go on a little tangent because I personally don't use the sled because it doesn't reach my goals because it burns too many calories. But as a trainer, just training my clients, I love the sled. I use the sled almost every workout for my clients, especially in their lower body days, for two reasons. One, it's very high impact on the bones, but low injury risk. So with that said, it means you're more than likely not going to hurt yourself pushing a sled unless you have some sort of plantar flexion injury or Achilles tendon injury that's already known, which your trainer would know of. So he wouldn't put you on the sled if you had those two things. But what the sled is good for is one, it's a lot of impact on your bones. So it helps prevent osteoporosis, which is the thinning of your bones. So a lot of old women get it, and that's when like they fall, they break a hip off or like a 3 feet fall. So it's good to prevent that because bone density, keeping it strong. Secondly, is it gets your heart rate up there like no other. Like if I'm sure you've seen, like you put on 3 plates on a sled and sprint it down, you're
Oh
gonna be
yeah,
more wind than pretty much anything.
yeah,
And so those are my main two reasons, but it's mainly that first one, especially with all my female clients. If you can do it, you're pushing a sled simply for the fact that it'll help keep you on this earth longer. And I feel like it's just an underrated exercise in the gym because people are afraid to do it because it takes up so much space
hmm
that like you're the center of attention pretty much for pushing a sled. But anyone who's pushed it before knows it's workout, so they're gonna commend you for doing it on your own because you have to be pretty much a fucked up individual to push a sled on your own.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into the other thing, like you mentioned. It's like covering, what is it? What'd you say? Like, because it takes up so much room, like the sled. It's like,
Hmm.
that's another thing. It's like, oh, people are gonna look at me if I'm pushing a sled. No,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna fucking care. Who cares? Like,
Most people are more concerned about what people are thinking of them that they're not even thinking about you because everyone's in their own head.
yep.
Because I
Everybody's,
remember I would
especially,
never push a sled.
yeah. The gym is such a place for people to be self conscious that it is unreal.
Hmm.
And I'm guilty of it. I'm sure Garrett's guilty of it just because we all like have our flaws and we know it. And when we go to the gym, especially like me, when I started, I was fat and I was like, people are going to start looking at me because I'm fat. Like, that's what
Well,
it's like. Don't give a shit what other people think or like what they might be thinking when they're probably not even thinking of it. They're like, they might just be staring off into space and you just be happen to be there.
yeah. Like when it goes down to that, when I first started lifting, I'll put a picture up one day so people can see, but I was ungodly skinny. I was 6'3", 128 pounds. But I signed up at EOS, the gym I currently work at. It was a different club, but under the same brand. And I worked out there for like 3 to 6 months, but my anxiety was so bad that like I couldn't go in there when it was busy. I had to go either super early morning before school or go right after school before that lunch rush because I just for some reason in my like teenage brain, I just couldn't see have people see me in there trying not to be a skinny because I think it'd make them think I was even skinnier. I don't know. I was deluded. But with that said, I eventually at that after like 3 to 4 months, I stopped going to EOS and I signed up at this little small gym because there was no one everyone there. So it built my confidence up and became more confident in the gym. That's where I ultimately became a trainer for the first time was at that small gym. That was it's Body Renew Fitness in Tempe. But that gym allowed me to get the confidence in the gym so that I would feel more confident working out at like bigger clubs, more populated clubs. But that was it worked out in the end, but that was ultimately the wrong decision because that was me running from my anxiety of being that skinny kid. So in turn to combat that at the end is so now this was like last year, last August. I I got two jobs. I got a job at Mountainside Fitness and EOS. And I ultimately chose the EOS job because it scared me the most because I know bodybuilding, but I don't look like a bodybuilder. Um, the EOS job scared me the most because it was back to like that skinny thing is like people are going to judge me. He's like, how is he a trainer? He's so skinny. Even though I'm not that skinny anymore. But so I chose the EOS job out of complete fear that it was the hardest thing I could do in that decision was to take that job and overcome that fear. And now I love my EOS job. I'm cool with all the people, and it basically was a way of me overcoming that anxiety way back like 5, 6 years ago of being afraid to train at EOS, just lift weights at EOS, and now I'm a personal trainer there.
Mhm.
So
And I kind of have experience with that too. It's like when I first started going back to the gym, I went 2 or 3 times a week, and I was going during the day, and I was like, I can't do this, man. Like, I started going 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I changed up my
mhm,
schedule just so I could go in there and be alone and not have to worry about who the hell was there or whatever. But it eventually got to the point, and I'm obviously not the biggest guy. I don't have like the show muscle that all these Instagram models have, but I'm not small either. Like, I'm pretty big, and it got to the point where I was being like, I would look at myself in the mirror and I would be self conscious, and it's like, damn. And then the gym I work out at now, there's kids all the time that are in like high school, college, and they'll come up to me and like ask me questions and like, hey,
mhm.
work how to hit this body part, like, and they'll like ask, and I'll give them advice, and it's like they wouldn't do that if they didn't look at me and like see that what am I trying to say, like what I'm doing
You
is
built
working.
so
Yeah.
that they can actually see it from like an outside point of view that they feel like you have credibility enough to ask.
Hmm.
That's the best compliment you can get in the gym is when someone comes up to you and asks about something, especially a younger kid.
Yeah. And that's ultimately what I ended up doing is like training young athletes, but uh and that is the best feeling in the world, especially when you've been working hard and trying to push yourself. When somebody comes up and asks you like, "Hey, can you like teach me this workout?" or like,
Yeah.
"Can you show me a different movement?" And it's just like you kind of like stutter for a second. You're like, oh shit, you got to think
Yeah.
about it, and then you're like, then it's like bang right off the dome. You know what you're gonna tell them,
Yeah,
and
because it's on the spot. You're not overthinking it.
and you probably get that when like new like shit clients come in. You probably get that when new
Yeah.
clients come in, and it's like you immediately look at them and know exactly what workouts you're gonna put them through.
Yeah. Especially once I just hear their injury history or lack thereof, which is great if they're fully healthy. And because if they're fully healthy, it's like an empty canvas, and you're like a painter. You get to like sculpt their body however they want you to, as long as they're willing to put in the work.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's that. And that's going back to the whole mindset thing. You know, that's why those goals help, so you become less self-conscious, and
Yeah.
you stop caring about what other people think because you're setting your own goals and tackling them and getting after it, and you're accomplishing them. So, who gives a shit what anybody else is like? You define your own success.
Yeah. And like Maury said, you literally define your own success. Your success might not be driving a Lambo or being a 300-pound bodybuilder. Your success could be get to 14% body fat when you're at 30.
Or
And
it
like
could
no one
be,
will know that you're that successful, but you achieved it.
or it could be like, you know, like I'm 280 pounds. I want to get down to like 220, like
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Like all our goals are different, and you know, it's just getting in that mindset and not giving a shit who or what like says anything about you. Like, just go do it, man. Like, there is not enough time in your life to sit around and just be like, ah, shit, what's this guy saying about me?
Yeah. And then ultimately, your happiness is equated by the quality of your thoughts. So if you're constantly seeking other people's approval, your happiness will come from other people's approval. But if your thoughts are about what would make you happy, and that's genuinely all you're thinking about, you don't give a fuck what other people's opinions of you are, you'll be happier just by default of only thinking and working towards things you actually want and not the world and society is trying to put on you that you should want, which will ultimately make your life better. And if everyone focuses on making their life better, society will be better. So
Completely agree. Little tangent here, but I was watching
Yeah.
Joe Rogan and Joe List the other day, and Joe's like, "You don't
wait,
want to, huh?"
which Joe?
Joe Rogan,
Oh, okay.
Joe Rogan and Joe List. But Joe Rogan said, "You don't want to overfuck the fuck meter."
Yeah.
And when you said that, I was like, "Damn, that was a good use of fuck."
Well,
So that was just a little tangent, but yeah.
yeah.
But that's gonna be it for this week. If you haven't already, we're gonna link all of our social medias down below. Be sure to ask us questions. We're gonna put out a poll later this week, and on Instagram, on Twitter. Be sure to like comment, leave us questions, so we have more to go off of next week. And yeah, we just want to help you strive to be the best person that you can be. And yeah, that's it for now. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.